Good evening, everyone. Susie, do you mind starting the broadcast? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of South Oxfordshire District Council Cabinet. My name is David Growing. I'm the leader of the council. I'm going to be chairing the meeting. Becky, would you like to take a roll call, please?
Yes, of course. I'll take it in alphabetical order. If members can please confirm if they are present in the meeting room or present online. So I'll start with Councillor Peter Paul Barker.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Maggie Filipova Rivers.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Georgina Heritage.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Sam James Laurie.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Lee Rawlins.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor David Rain.
Present in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Anne-Marie Simpson.
Present online.
Thank you. And Councillor Tony Morgan.
Present in the room.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we're also joined by officers in the room and online who will introduce themselves if they may need to take part in anything. The minutes of the meeting on the 16th of October, these were circulated separately. Is everyone happy if I propose that we adopt those? Is everyone, Maggie was the first up to second and everyone else in favour? Okay, thank you. Item 4 is declarations of interest. To receive declaration of disclosable pecuniary interests and other registrable interests and non-registrable interests and any conflicts of interest in respect to items on the agenda. Does anyone have any that they want to declare? I see none. As usual, if something occurs to you when we move on to an item, then draw our attention to it at that point. Item 5, urgent business. We don't have any urgent business. I haven't done any announcements about fire escapes and things, but I think we've all been in this building many times and know our way out. Public participation. Do we have any notification for the participation?
No registered speakers.
Thank you. Item 7 is recommendations and updates from other committees. On page 4, we have some recommendations from Strictly, but they actually, the first one refers to the enforcement. So we'll deal with that when a paper for enforcement comes forward. But if people can note the recommendations there regarding planning enforcement. And the other thing is they looked at a local plan review for 2035 and noted it. So there are no recommendations there. The next item is item 8, the endlessly fascinated council tax base setting. Councillor Barker, would you like to share the spreadsheet with us?
Yeah, nice, please. So yeah, this is our usual review and approval of the council tax base to go forward to full council, so that we can set the council tax for the forthcoming budget year. And so the detailed calculations are attached in the paper, and that's the report of finance. So this usual table is attached with all parishes and the houses change year on year, etc. And I'd like to ask that we recommend that to go forward to full council.
If I second that, would anyone else like to speak, or shall we just agree that?
To agree.
Agreed. Everybody, thank you. Item 9, South Oxfordshire Community Infrastructure Levy Grant Fund Policy. I think it's you again, Councillor Walker.
So again, yes. So very pleased to be bringing this forward again. The pilot that we ran a year ago, the outcome of that is in the paper. I think it's worth just spending a few minutes looking at that. So in paragraph 8, the outcomes pilot scheme summarised. We received 35 expressions of interest for a total of nearly 6 million. Now, obviously, due to assessment of suitability and so on, only 20 of those were then invited to submit a full application. And that resulted in 13 applications coming forward for a total of 2.1 million. Bear in mind that the budget that we set for the pilot was 750,000, so that's still well oversubscribed. And then further on in paragraph 8, it shows the awards that were made. So I think we're all agreed that was a really successful outcome, and we do have enough still funding to run the same scheme again, with total budget of 750,000. So the paper before us tonight is to put in place the how that will work, the mechanics for that. There's a few changes from the pilot process, following a review of how that all went. So if we look at paragraph 11, for example, making sure that this is complementary with the council's existing capital grant scheme. So therefore, this the SIL grant scheme will start from funding amounts of 75,000 upwards, whereas the capital grant is up to 75,000. In number 12, we can see in the fourth bullet there's a change from the pilot scheme. The new policy does not include an initial expression of interest stage. That was useful during the pilot, but not really needed this time around, and that will reduce the amount of time that it takes to run the scheme. I guess the only other point I wanted to call out, so further on in the report, in paragraph 19, there's a summary of SIL balances. Don't propose to go into that in any great detail, but we can, of course, do that as a cabinet level we want to. But what that clearly shows is that there's plenty of SIL funds available in the SODC bucket to support this scheme at the 750,000. And also, you'll see in paragraph 21 that depending on applications and reviews, but if a project that the grants panel would like to support reaches that 750,000 level, then up to an additional 100,000 can be considered to be awarded by the head of service in consultation with myself. So we could go above 750 if we need to. So yeah, I'd like to put this forward for consideration.
I want a question and I want a second.
Okay.
I'm a big fan.
We'll note you seconding. Now ask the question.
It's actually really good to see that the expression of interest phase is going, partly because it needs to be spent this year. Well, it needs to be allocated this year, right? It needs to be run this year. Do we think we have enough time left of this financial year?
I'm not sure there's a financial year constraint because the budget is already set, so it does come from the budget that we've allocated.
I see.
And exactly at what point in time the awards get made, I don't think that's subject to financial year constraint.
Okay. Oh, good to know. Okay.
Mark here has just popped up on my screen from his Grand Designs. Would you like to add to that, Mark?
No, just what Councillor Barker said is 100% correct. I wouldn't expect any funds to be released until the next financial year anyway, but there is no constraints over spending within this financial year.
Okay.
Good question.
No further questions. Would you like to second?
Is there a debate? Oh, okay. I'll
Do you want to
reserve
speak?
my right to speak again.
Does anyone else want to?
I had another question which relates to the latter years of the scheme. How far are we able to make proposals that go beyond 27-28? So if we have money and in 27-28 that we know is going to roll over beyond that, beyond the end of the council, what are we actually able to do with regard to stuff that might be awarded in the last year of this council? I appreciate you might not be able to answer right now.
The big guns have just come out. Both the monitoring officer and the finance officer have popped up on my screen. Who'd like to go first? Nick. Yeah.
No, I actually think. I think Simon's going to be more useful to you, Chair. But so I'll let him go first, if I may, just to. But just to say, this is a matter we are working through at the moment as both together and across the region with the other statutory officers about starting to give a better structured advice on this stuff. Obviously, this is completely new to us in legal terms, but we have started some work. Simon may have a view on the specifics of this one, but I'm in the middle of preparing an advice note for all members, but particularly cabinet members, on widely about decision making, in particular as to capital funds and grant funds. So I'll hand over to Simon, who can sound more intelligent than I.
We're probably also waiting for guidance from government, I guess, as well. So Simon or his son, whichever would like to.
Mine rather than my son. My view would be that if we've entered into an agreement with an entity to provide them with funding, then that obligation would have to be honoured. I think that what it potentially gives us is a challenge in 27-28 to make sure that we have got this process underway. If there's a big if here in the context of you agree funding on a year-by-year basis, so you haven't yet agreed funding for 27-28. But I think that if we got to the stage where we agreed funding for 27-28, then we would want to get that process and get to legal arrangements sorted sooner rather than later in that year, because I think they will then be legally binding on the authority that comes after us. I don't know whether Nick, you'd agree with that view. That'd be my take. I mean, that's consistent with the messaging we've heard on things like Section 106 and so on. That if we've entered into agreements, then we'll be expected to honour them. I think clearly that it's up to the new organisation that comes after us to decide what to do if there's any money left from SIL, and whether to have a scheme like this or do something else with that funding.
That makes sense. Thanks, Simon. Is this on this or another issue?
No, it's on this. It's just to clarify the timing that will apply to the capital and the CIL in terms of the applications, and taking the point about looking forwards, whether we could in fact make a decision about the 27-28 year or the back end on a contingent basis. In other words, we say at a point at which we're ready to say we would be happy to proceed subject to a reasonable contingency, like there's enough CIL funds to proceed, or to the extent that there are funds to proceed. Just a way of getting, if we're going to face this LGR type timetable, that we get it in at a point where we can say, yeah, this is normal business, this is what we do. That's how we're proceeding.
Yeah, I would suggest that by the time we need to make that decision, we'll have better guidance. But
yes, on the second point, I think that's one we can't debate too much tonight, but we will be obviously in the coming weeks. In terms of the timeline for this grants process, that's on page 31.
Sorry, I was looking for it.
Illustrative timeline of the process. The scheme's anticipated to start in January 2026 and follow the indicative timeline below, where it's a 2 to 4 week notice period, then an 8-week period where the scheme is open for applications, and so on. You can go through the table there. It says somewhere else, I think it's a little bit earlier in the policy, that priority will be, given to, they'll be weighted in the scoring applications that can be delivered quickly. That is a factor in deciding which schemes to award funding to, if we are oversubscribed again. But in terms of our own timeline for assessment and release of funding, that's the one that's shown.
Should we move into debate? I think we've done questions so far. Anyone wanting to debate this issue? Would you like to sum up, Maggie?
I will second formally. I'm a big fan of this scheme. I think it's quite innovative. I don't know of many councils that are doing this. And I think first of all, I probably should thank the council on behalf, as a ward member on behalf of Goring. We were one of the late additions and were successful in securing some funding for a playground that hadn't been updated in a very long time. And despite, the village being the home of many children, as younger-ish people have moved out of urban areas, including London, and into the village. So it's been so heartening to see such kind of social infrastructure that has been lagging behind is now able to proceed to progress because of this grant. You could see obviously in the report some of the other recipients, and I just think it's such a great way of delivering infrastructure as a district council, where we partner with third sector and mostly parish councils in order to I guess raise funding from not just a single source but more than one sources in many cases, and deliver them fairly quickly. You know, I think that's the beauty of this scheme. And so I do hope that we can have conversations as part of budget setting process about continuing it. I think I wanted to actually make one more point, but I've forgotten what it is now. Oh yes, my point was about this being a really wonderful kind of legacy to leave to the successor authority. I think it's one of those case studies that we can say, you know, having done it at least twice, to say, look, this is a good practice example. This is a good way of delivering infrastructure. Please consider, you know, embedding it into your practices going forward. So I am really proud of it, and hopefully we'll get some nice set of new projects done and dusted. And two, I've seen of the ones that we have already funded have completed. So that's really cool to see as well, but they're actually moving.
Do you like to sum up, people?
Yes, I'll just read out the recommendations then. So it's that Cabinet approves the Community Infrastructure Levy grant fund policy for the award of grants between 75,000 and 250,000 to support delivery of infrastructure schemes required to meet the demands of growth within the district. And that policy is attached in Appendix 1. And also the Cabinet delegates authority to the relevant head of service in consultation with the Cabinet member to make minor amendments to the terms and conditions of the scheme as needed.
Thank you. Save me doing that. Can I see those in favour of those recommendations?
Unanimous.
Yep. Moving on to item 10, which is South Oxfordshire Local Plan 2035 review. Unfortunately, Councillor Simpson can't be with us in the room, so I'll formally propose this. But Anne-Marie, if you'd like to introduce it, can I get a formal seconder, Councillor Walgo? So Anne-Marie, if you'd like to introduce it.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much. So the Council has a statutory duty to review the adopted South Oxfordshire Local Plan within 5 years of its adoption. The purpose of this review is to determine whether any revisions to the adopted plan are necessary. So to meet this requirement within the statutory timeframe, Cabinet, we tonight, must make a decision to conclude the review process by the 10th of December 2025. The review is the process of assessing whether our adopted local plan needs any changes or updates, and this report to Cabinet will fulfil this obligation. So just to be clear, the review is the process of assessing whether our adopted local plan needs any changes or updates, and this report to Cabinet will fulfil this obligation. This review has taken place in a context where the Council has already decided to prepare a joint local plan with Vale of White Horse District Council, which once adopted will replace the South Oxfordshire Local Plan 2035. For the purpose of this review, which requires decision, again, by the 10th of December 2025, the report recognises the current uncertainty surrounding the progress of the joint local plan, and you'll see that in the report sort of from paragraph 10 onwards. The report concludes that within the timeframe available for this decision, the joint local plan cannot currently be fully relied upon to proceed to adoption as the future replacement for the South Oxfordshire Local Plan. This uncertainty matters in this context. This uncertainty matters because in this context, the review can only conclude that no revisions are needed if it determines that no revisions to any part of South Oxfordshire Local Plan are required. And the report goes on to explain that Policy Strat 2, which sets out the housing requirement in the adopted local plan, cannot be considered up to date if the joint local plan examination does not progress further. And this is because the current national planning policy framework uses a different methodology for calculating housing need than was in place when the local plan was prepared. Any future revisions to South Oxfordshire local plan, whether undertaken now or later, will need to reflect this updated national approach. The housing requirement in Policy Strat 2 is lower, around 60%, than the government's current standard method figure for South Oxfordshire, and therefore cannot be regarded as up to date. Because of this, it is unnecessary to assess each individual policy in the plan at this stage. Whatever that exercise might show, the conclusion would remain that the housing requirement will need to be revised if the joint local plan does not progress. So the report recommends that the Cabinet approve the conclusion of the review and defer decisions on the scope, form and timetable for the preparation of any revisions to a later date through an update to the local development scheme. This will allow time to consider the outcome of correspondence with the Planning Inspectorate about the joint local plan and to explore alternative plan making options if the joint local plan cannot proceed. The Council can be confident that the recommendation to Cabinet complies fully with legislative requirements and represents the most efficient and appropriate course of action. So thank you. That's the end of the introduction.
Are there any questions? See any? Seconder, would you like to second?
I would, and just to add that Councillor Simpson has very, very adequately summed up the details.
Any other contributions on this? As always, with planning, it's a highly technical procedure that we're going through, and we're grateful to the team for holding our hand as we go through it. As proposer, then I'll formally put these recommendations to you, which are on page 35 of the pack. A is that Cabinet approves the Regulation 10A review of South Oxfordshire Local Plan 2035 and decide that the local plan should be revised. And B, that the timetable and format for the South Oxfordshire Local Plan 2035 revision is brought to full council via Cabinet at a later date through an update to the local development scheme. Can I see those in favour of that?
Before we vote, I see Anne-Marie Simpson's got a hand up. Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, Anne-Marie.
No,
Very
all I want to
tiny
do was
hand, very large
just
screen.
thank the officer team that have worked on this, because obviously, you know, they've been working on it since the summer, and particular mention to Ricardo Rios that has led on this. So thank you to the team.
Thank you for reminding us of that. Can I see those in favour? That's everyone. Thank you. I think you sound surprised.
No, sorry, I say it more confidently.
Move on to item 11, which is devolution for Oxfordshire. And 2. And you'll see that there are recommendations there. There is actually one error, which I've going to allude to in my introduction, but we're going to propose a correction to that. Becky, if you could read out what the correction is.
Yep, so with agreement, consent of the meeting, we can put this as a standing motion. So the change only impacts point B. So would you like me to read out in full or just B?
Yeah. If you just read out the revised B.
Yes, of course. So B is to endorses the expression of interest EOI letter as attached on page 51 to 54 of Appendix 1 to be submitted by Oxfordshire County Council as the upper tier authority to government, noting that the EOI is designed to proactively position our region for early consideration in the next wave of the devolution programme. So it adds the word letter and references the page numbers.
And I'll explain that in my introduction why we're doing that. Okay. So I'm proposing this, and the government is looking to have a more uniform system of local administration across the country, and has invited upper tier authorities, that's unitary and county councils, to put forward proposals for mayoral strategic authorities. These MSAs will oversee areas of several councils covering at least 1.5 million people, and will have powers over strategic matters such as transport and spatial planning. Importantly, these are the chosen vehicle for government to provide funding for local infrastructure and for future devolution. In our case, the upper tier authority which has been invited to respond is Oxfordshire County Council, and we're being invited to support their approach. We are grateful to the County Council for including the districts in the discussions throughout this process. We've always had strong relationships with the other councils in Oxfordshire, recently through the Oxfordshire Leaders Joint Committee, formerly known as the Future Oxfordshire Partnership. And through this process, we have also developed relationships with the unitary councils in Berkshire. It has become clear that the two counties share many things in common: similar economic strength, similar industries, but also similar problems relating to the pace of growth. The leaders of all the councils in Oxfordshire and Berkshire have therefore agreed to work together on a submission for an MSA for the Thames Valley. Other scenarios have been considered. Buckinghamshire is part of the same police and health areas, but has decided that they do not want to join with us at the current time. Swindon has expressed an interest in joining with the MSA, but our view, which is shared by most councils in the group, is that this would not be appropriate for several reasons. It is not part of the Thames Valley Police or health infrastructure. Its economy is not integrated with ours, and its commuting patterns look west rather than east. What we are being asked to support is an expression of interest, a letter to the government signed by the leader of Oxfordshire County Council on behalf of the county. The same letter will be sent by the Berkshire Council, signed by the chair of the Berkshire Prosperity Board, which is their equivalent to the OLJC. The letter is not specific about the final geography and does not bind the councils to any particular scheme. It asks for the proposal to be included and the government's plans for devolution at an early stage. At this point, I should point out that there is an error in the documentation. The last paragraph on page 50 of your pack says the EOI letter will be accompanied by a supplementary document for use by local authority leaders and CEOs in discussions with government and other national and regional stakeholders. This paper was written before the council leaders agreed not to submit that document, and so what we've been asked to do is merely support the letter. I'm proposing that we do this as a start of as it is the start of a process which could unlock future funding for infrastructure and further develop devolution powers, both of which we support. I'm proposing that. Could I have a seconder? Maggie, second. Would you like to? Oh, the competition. Would you like to speak now, or?
I reserve my right.
So, right. So, any debate on this? Councillor Rawlins.
Yeah, I think colleagues have got a paper in front of them of some suggestions that I would be wanting to see us recommend to county to change in the EOI submission. I agree, I support the EOI submission. I would want us to make it explicit that we don't see Swindon as part of the Thames Valley MSA. You've made quite correctly the point that it doesn't fit with the Thames Valley Police area or NHS. It properly sits, in my view, with Wiltshire, Somerset and Dorset, where it is wanted. And with a population of only some 240, it's way below the guideline for being a unitary. So it would thoroughly mess up the unitarisation process that's being engaged with across Oxfordshire. Its economy is largely self-contained, but such economic links and commutes as there are look west and not across to Oxfordshire or Berkshire. So I think it would be reasonable to make that point openly to government. I also believe that we should amend some of the words. I'm suggesting an addition and an amendment, really just to bring out the nature of our role within the UK economy and to make it clear that whilst we're supportive of growth and we very much want to see growth per capita and we very much want to support UK PLC in its growth objectives, we don't then want, given that we have a bunch of national assets, they're not parochial assets, we have some national assets that are vital to the UK economy in terms of R&D and innovation. But as those are developed, I think we should be wanting to make it clear that we play a role in enabling rollout across the UK economy and into its regions and so forth, that in some cases have been rather left behind and have underutilised resources. And that doesn't come out for me clearly enough. There's some oblique references in the document saying that we will enable other parts of the UK and that we will diffuse, but they're rather rare comments, which I think could benefit from being re-emphasised. So that's simply my proposal, that we would make those recommendations to county.
If I can respond to that.
We need a second.
Sorry, if we Maggie,
for Lee's amendment.
They're not amendments. They're not amendments. They're
Suggestions rather than, I don't,
yeah, not amendments.
I haven't quite brought it forward as an amendment at this stage. I wanted to share it with colleagues and offer the opportunity for some discussions.
If I can respond to that, abusing my position as chair as far as on this. This is the county's document.
Understood.
We've been asked, do we support it or do we not? I think that you make some very valid points, and those valid points should be made by county councillors at the county council.
I'm happy to do that too. I just felt that we might do that as a district council.
We have made our position clear within the discussions, the various summits that have been held throughout this process between the councils from Oxfordshire and Berkshire. We've made our position clear, as have other councils. The stage we're at the moment is Oxfordshire County Council wants to go ahead, and there is an agreed wording that allows them to go ahead without committing to a particular geography, given that there are differences of opinion as to what that geography should be. I'm proposing that we say to them, yes, we do support this going ahead in this form, and with this very careful wording. And if others could persuade the county to have a different view, then they should do that. But I feel like we've done our bit within the summit process. And what we're at the stage now where we have a final set of wording that we either go forward with or we don't.
Listening to what you're saying and what you said in your opening speech, we're agreed on principle of Swindon, but you're saying that so far there's been an agreement not to make any explicit geography, which is a bit of a difficult one. And then on the other things which aren't about geography, is there any reason why we shouldn't recommend those?
Yes, I think we can voice our opinion, and we can do that through this meeting. But I personally want us to either agree this or not. I don't want to get into this same form of words is going forward to every council. Yeah. And I would, if there is, what I don't want us to be is an outlier in this process. There is what we would like to be is in the next tranche of things going forward with devolution, because that's what unlocks the investment, and that's what would unlock any future devolution. If we're seen to be caveating that in any way, or needing to go back to negotiate it within Oxfordshire and Berkshire, then I think that puts us back down the list of devolution deals that will go ahead, and I think that would be to the detriment of the district, in that it would mean that any funds that were being distributed, we wouldn't have a position we wouldn't be in a position to accept those. So that's why there's an urgency to it, and that's why we're going ahead. I would want us to go ahead with the wording that we've agreed with other councils. Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, I think a number of us, most of us in the room, would probably choose to do devolution differently, but that's not on offer. The offer we've got is the one we've got from government. It was reiterated in the budget yesterday that there will be certain things available to us as a community if we accept this offer. I think there is enough money available for our residents that it's the right thing to do. I don't disagree with any of the points that Lee's making here, but I wouldn't want to actually stymie the process by insisting that anything goes on. I think I'm fully in favour that we support this. Swindon clearly isn't a natural part of the community. Swindon has its own hinterland heading toward Masset and Chiltern Henley West. That's part of their natural hinterland. That's where they live. You know, we have a boundary with Swindon. They're fantastic neighbours, but they're neighbours, not part of our community. But we need to support this. We want devolution to happen. It's the only devolution on offer, and we want the money to be able to be spent in our community, and that's what the government wants to do, and that's why I think we need to support it, because it's going to get money into our community.
Anyone else? Oh, sorry, Anne-Marie is.
Yeah, no, I just want to say that I mean, it's always difficult. There's always a balancing act to be had when you make decision making, but I do feel that from what I've heard from you, David, that there's been a process in place. It's always difficult to get all councils together to agree to something like devolution, something on such a massive scale, which is very much out of our hands at the end of the day. But what is in our hands is what we have brought to the table tonight as a collective, I guess, in support. I mean, I know County's been leading from what you say, but I think our decision here tonight is whether we want to be left behind or whether we want to be part of the next tranche, as you say, where our councils, our areas will benefit, our residents will benefit, I believe, from agreeing to be part of that next tranche. So I know that I'm not in the room, I don't have a vote, but I absolutely support the direction that you're proposing. So I very much hope that my cabinet colleagues also agree to support a positive decision tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously I get the point that this is Oxfordshire County's response, which we've been asked to endorse to give some additional weight, and therefore that process doesn't really allow for amending the document at this stage. I certainly agree with what Lee has written, and it would have been better if that was in the EOI, but there we go. I'm sure it was written by committees, as these things usually are. The only thing I would add is that if this would appear in the minutes, because it's being put to our cabinet meeting tonight, with the commentary that we agree with this, but we didn't want to add it to Oxfordshire's document because that would not fit at this point in the process, then I'd be happy.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would accept that.
We're perfectly tapping away. And I generally give her
Tap no longer. Lee's already. I've got a copy online.
my introduction, and I'll give her a copy of my introduction for inclusion in the minutes or a summary of. But what I'm hearing is, does anyone else want to add before I do an upsum?
Second.
Maggie.
Well, I'm seconding, but I don't know whether you wanted to respond to Peter Paul before I do that.
Responding is that what the proposal is that we support the document as recommendations as they are. Naturally, we publish minutes of the meeting. We stream the meeting. It's perfectly clear what our position is.
Yeah.
And I would say that in lots of meetings prior to this, we've made our position very clear. So there is a formal record of what we've said throughout, including my own statements in the Swindon Advertiser. I realised that I was actually speaking in the Swindon Advertiser, but I was quoted. Saying
But would you be open to including this with the minutes as something that we basically agree with, albeit that we decided not to change the EOI?
Yeah, I mean, there is, Jill Becky's notes will reflect that discussion. Sorry, do you want to carry on with the debate now? Georgina?
No, that's fine. You've covered it. Thank you.
Yeah, so just a second, I think I'm quite happy with this approach. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Anne-Marie, just...
No, I just had a question. I seem to hear that it's not ours to amend, so I was a little bit confused by that last bit. So I just wondered if I could bring in perhaps Nick Bennett here to just confirm that.
We're not proposing that we amend it. What we're proposing is that we, it's noted in our minutes that we had this discussion and the views that were expressed. Nick, do you want to add to that?
No, I think he said what I was going to say, Chair, really, is that this isn't a decision for this authority to make. You've got a voice to be heard. And I understand from the debate that's gone on that the points from Lee will be recorded as part of that debate and a part of, if you like, an agreed position behind it. But no, you can't change it around. It's not for you to do that. You're not being a decision maker. So I hope that answers Councillor Simpson's question.
Yeah.
But that's exactly where we are.
Thank you.
Okay. If everyone else has said what they want to say, I'll go to Maggie as seconder.
Yeah, I hope Councillor Rawlings feels reassured that actually all of us agree with you.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly, in every meeting that Councillor Wayne has been to, that is what he has said. Ultimately, we are very grateful for being included in those conversations, but as a district, it's not our bag, unfortunately. And you will know, as double hatters, as both county councillors and district councillors, these are points that we make, and ultimately it's for the county executive to lead on this. So we are a little bit limited, but I think we have done all that we can to make our position known, and obviously the record of this meeting will also reflect that. Like Councillor Vaughan, I too am a little bit downbeat. I mean, this is not necessarily the type of devolution I would like to see or would have come up with, but this is what is on offer. My concerns about concentrating power into the hands of a single mayor hopefully remain on the record throughout this. However, it must be noted that if this is how government has decided to do it, and obviously and not only devolve funding in terms of infrastructure and other things, it should be said, and future devolution as well. This is what we are faced with yet again. It's that illusion of choice, and I think it is important to use our voice to be around the proverbial table, because this is just the beginning. This is about us being included, our areas being included in this process, and I think the governance and any concerns that we have of that, the geography again, and among other things will be discussed in the future. So I think it's important to just recognise that although it may not seem to Councillor Roaring like this is the beginning, it is an important milestone, but certainly not the end. So I'm sure we will continue to raise concerns and feedback as we go on. So I will support this being sent going.
If I do my final summing up, yes, none of us would wish this to be the form of devolution that we were going around, and part of me thinks that if the government has a very fixed idea as to what they want it to be, then they should just tell us, rather than have us spending lots of time trooping up to meetings in Reading and Bracknell and various other places in order to debate this issue. There are some things which we have had to shelve because there was no agreement in the room, and one of them is final geography. And there are people who feel very strongly one way and people who feel very strongly the other way. And the only way that we would get, that we've been able to get to the point where we can put in an expression of interest is by shelving that discussion. So that is kind of where we are. As I said, this is the county. The county were the ones who were invited by government to make a submission. They've invited us along, and the districts, I think, have had a pretty common view, but not entirely, as it goes along. But there is a recognition throughout that we want to be part of this game. If something is happening, then we need to be part of it rather than not. There's no point sitting aside and missing out on what is happening. I do quite often state that this isn't devolution, really. Certainly not at its current stage. We're replacing district council and county council with unitary authorities, which are at a higher level, and a statutory and a strategic authority above that. So that doesn't look very like devolution to me, but it is, I'm told, opening the door to more powers to be devolved down from government once that structure is in place. And they often quote Manchester, which I think was at stage level, or level 7 or something of devolution, whereas other councils are at level 1 or level 2. Which, whether those levels still exist now this new system is coming in. But yeah, Manchester is always quoted to us as an example of how this can be taken forward and the great thing that we've done. I would say that Oxfordshire and Berkshire is very different to Manchester.
Just a bit.
Whether anyone in government would believe us or not, I'm not sure. But yes, I would say we need to be in this, and so we need to support or give our support to Oxfordshire County Council in putting forward their submission. And I'll leave it at that. Right. Can I see those in favour of that's everyone?
This again, yeah.
I see you packing away.
I break the
habit of a lifetime and introduce an item of AOB, having banned it for 4 years. To say thank you to everybody. This will be my last cabinet meeting as leader of council. I would thank you all and others who were in the cabinet before that. Particularly want to thank Becky, who's sat next to me, and before her was Steve Collicutt. There's, as some of you know, I have better hearing on this side than I do on this, and I always have Becky or Stephen on this side, and very but thanks everybody, and
thank you.
We want to thank you.
We still have a council meeting to go through, and still be around to annoy you. But it's my last honest chair, so thank you everybody.
Thank you, Moses.
Susie, do you mind ending the broadcast and let us know when that's done?